There definitely was a time when auto conversions were not the primary engines at any air show, and that's still true. But here you see a group of people that all flew to Oshkosh for a common goal, and that was to have fun at Oshkosh, show off their Zenith airplane choice with their Viking engine up front. And as we're going to show in this little video, especially for me, Jan Eggenfellner, after having done 30 years of bringing auto conversions to the market, early on maybe less successful, and later on with more expertise and more knowledge, very successful. And a very common thing was that we were, as in the auto conversion group, kind of the oddballs, the alternative engine if you couldn't afford something else, and on and on and on. Now, this year and last year, and maybe it's been over the last 5 years, we've gradually taken over. And now we are the dominant choice of engine for the Zenith airplanes. As you can see, the first 6 people that raised their hand who flew to Oshkosh this year, and you'll see that they were all Viking-powered aircraft. And it's going to be a little difficult to make this video because people that are actually up on stage, up by Sebastian, are talking and letting you know who they are and what they are about. Now, it's difficult to hear because it's a big vendor or venue where we had food and we were talking, and obviously people were having a good time and all that. So I think I will do most of the talking, and I'll just kind of let you hear a little bit of what they said, more just so that you can see them and who they are. But first we're going to start with Phil Cook. He has a Zenith Cruiser that he built. He has a wonderful wrap on his airplane that you'll see in this picture. And he's also a CFI, has a flight school, and is one of those people that you can actually contact, and he will come to you and fly with you during your first flight and show you how to fly your Zenith airplane, high wing and low wing. So congratulations to him for flying and camping at Oshkosh and being there with us with his beautiful Viking-powered airplane.
You fly your plane in, and it's a whole different world. I used to fly and camp in vintage, and I love the vintage area, but not until I got into the home-built camp did I realize what a gem that is up there. So.
Now we're going to introduce you to Red Rat. Red Rat is a stall 750 Zenith with the Viking 130 engine up front. And it belongs to Paul Gabehart and his wife. He built this airplane by himself. He decided that he didn't have much of a thought about if it was going to be a traditional engine or a Viking engine or a Rotax engine or whatever. He just knew that with car engines, he knew what he was looking at because you're familiar with them. And he also knew that he is not familiar with in today's life, like carburetor heat and all the handles, mixture control, and things that you are supposed to manipulate as a pilot on more traditional engines. So here he is with his beautiful airplane. He camped at Oshkosh and joined in with us and talked to us, and we loved having him. And I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Hello, family. My name is Paul Gabehart. I have a wonderful airplane. His name is Red Rat. We flew in, my wife and I, Jennifer, flew in from Campbellsville, Kentucky. We had a wonderful flight in, and as usual, we have spent several nights down under the wing, just in heaven. And then just caps it all off, just being here with, like I said, family.
Now we have Steve and Ivy Sly, and they flew up from South Carolina. So it's quite a ride in the Zenith. Luckily, Steve was able to, and Ivy was able to get time off from their chores. And Ivy has lots of stuff that she does in South Carolina. And Steve flies one of those Airbuses for a big company. And he was able to get off too. So their wish was to be able to take their time and fly to Oshkosh by going a few hundred miles each day and just enjoy land, use up some points of their hotels that they get, and kind of enjoy and look down and just kind of not do the airline thing and do the low and slow. And they were actually able to do that. Congratulations to them. They had a wonderful time, navigated around some weather. And in fact, we were driving to Oshkosh. Viking had to drive because we have to bring a bunch of engines and things. And at one point, they were right over our heads. So they landed, and we stayed in the same town one night. In any case, here's Steve and Ivy Salai.
A nice relaxed pace. We had no hurry to get up here, waited out weather, and this is the longest trip our little bird went on. We had a 150 horsepower Viking motor close up here, ran flawless the whole way, and I flew to Oshkosh about 30 years ago. And this is the first time I've been able to fly in, and we're just having a ball.
And here we have Dave Tilema with his friend Kim, Lily. And a lot of you might have heard of Dave and his flying. Not only is he kind of known in the Viking community and the Zenith community, but he's also known by a lot of people on the online community that do any kind of long distance travels or adventures flying or anything like that, because not only has he flown his Viking engine over 1,000 hours in over a little bit over 3 years, but he also last year flew the 48 states on its way to Oshkosh. And there was a lot of publicity around that. And Dave is always looking for new things to improve, new things to test. And here he is at Oshkosh with us again. Now, Dave has done a lot of service to the auto engine conversion community. He has tried a couple of them. He settled on the Viking engine, and he basically has just flown and flown and flown. And he has been upgrading his engine as time went by. Obviously, there's always new things, but he's never had anything that kept him on the ground where he could not fly. He's just shown that an auto engine in an airplane like this is completely viable, and in fact can be flown only, well, close to the cost of gas. So cost of gas has been his number one hindrance to even have more hours, because all this time that he's flown and all these hours and all this testing and things that he want to explore has been based on, can I afford doing this, And he doesn't put much money in his airplane, doesn't put much money in his engine. He puts money in the gas tank.
Good evening, I'm Dave Tilema. This is my friend Kim Lilly. We flew in from south of Houston, Friendswood, Texas. This is my third trip in JoCo. And I think it was like 10 and a half hours here, not eventful.
And then we have Steveoperley. Sebastian asked in the beginning, who flew here? Who is here with their Zenith airplane? And all these people that you're seeing that I'm bringing up were the first to speak, and they all have Viking engines. They have Zenith cruisers and Zenith stalls, and they really enjoy it. Steveoperley has had a Zenith 750 stall for many years. He's quite known for his paint technique. Sounds simple, but it's an ingenious thing that he has perfected, which is to roll the paint onto your airplane using a very specific method with foam rollers where you can barely tell that it wasn't sprayed. Obviously, the advantage of that is you can paint pieces as you go along. You don't have to set up a giant spray booth and so forth and so on. Steve started flying with a Viking 110, and when the 150 engine became available a few years later, he left the 110, sold it to someone. He had a couple 250 hours on that, and now he's racking up the hours on the 150. Steve has been a really good asset to Viking aircraft engines. He loves to come and show off his plane, and he'll tell anyone that wants to listen how much he likes his engine and the airplane.
Yeah, my name is Steveoperley. I had a Zenith 750 Skoll with the Viking 150 engine. I flew in from Holland, Michigan.
And then we have Larry and Kyle Sword that built a beautiful Zenith 750 Cruiser. Kyle is a younger fellow, and he flies for the big airplanes. I don't know if he's in an airline, but he's definitely flying corporate and maybe even in the airlines. I'm not sure, but I do know that he and his father worked as a team building this airplane, and that they did a fantastic job. Kyle always raved about how his father, Larry, is very inventive and has several things invented in this airplane, such as beautiful air vents that are non-standard and a host of other little things that make the airplane what it is now. They were at Oshkosh, and they displayed right across here from the Zenith display and the Viking display, and they were part of it, and we're really grateful that they were able to make it there and be part of the team. And then last but not least, David Reeves, and he flew in with the Viking 190 from Iowa, and he has a little 701. Beautiful airplane, beautiful decor on it, and we like him. He's a wonderful support of the Viking community and has been instrumental in putting hours on the Viking 90 engine. That's it. There was a few more like airplanes sitting around the air show, but these were the ones that were right there supporting Zenith by their booth, supporting Viking by their booth, talked about Zenith airplanes and Viking engines all day long, and congratulations and thank you to everyone that was involved. See you all next year.